Why can't you remember being a baby? You were there. For your first birthday, your first steps, your first laugh, your first words. You experienced all of it. So why can't you remember any of it? Think about that for a moment. You can remember what happened last week. You can probably remember your first day of school, maybe even a vacation from years ago. But the first few years of your life, almost completely gone. It's one of the strangest mysteries of the human mind. Every person on Earth starts life the same way. We spend years learning, feeling, seeing, hearing, and experiencing the world for the very first time. And then somehow, we forget almost all of it. Scientists call this phenomenon infantile amnesia, the inability of adults to remember the earliest years of their lives. But that only raises a bigger question. Why? Why would your brain erase some of the most important experiences you'll ever have? After all, those early years shaped everything. You learned language, you learned trust, you learned fear, you learned who your parents were, you learned how the world worked. Without those experiences, you wouldn't be who you are today. So how can something be so important and yet impossible to remember? For a long time, scientists thought they had the answer. The explanation seemed obvious. Babies simply couldn't form memories. Their brains were too immature. Their memory systems weren't fully developed. Case closed, or so it seemed. Then researchers started discovering something unexpected. Babies actually remember much more than anyone thought. Infants can recognize people, objects, patterns, voices, and experiences they have encountered before. That creates a problem. If babies can form memories, then where do those memories go? Imagine recording thousands of videos onto a computer. Then years later, every file appears to be gone. Did the files never exist? Or are they simply hidden somewhere you can't access? That question has completely changed how scientists think about memory. Today, many researchers no longer believe infant memories are never formed. Instead, they suspect something even stranger. The memories may still exist. You just can't reach them anymore. To understand why, we need to talk about the most important memory machine in your brain, the hippocampus. Deep inside your brain is a small structure shaped somewhat like a seahorse. Every day, it helps transform experiences into memories. Without it, forming new memories becomes almost impossible. But when you're a baby, the hippocampus is still under construction. Connections are constantly changing. New neurons are forming at incredible speeds. The brain is rebuilding itself almost non-stop. Imagine trying to save files on a computer while someone is rebuilding the hard drive every day. Information can still be stored, but keeping it stable becomes much harder. Some scientists believe this rapid brain growth may be one reason early memories become inaccessible later in life. But the mystery gets even deeper, because memory isn't just about storing information, it's also about retrieving it. Think about a memory from last year. You can access it because your brain knows where to look. Now imagine a library with millions of books. The books are still there, but the catalog system has been destroyed. Finding a specific book becomes nearly impossible. Some researchers think something similar may happen to infant memories. The memories might survive, but the brain loses the map needed to find them. And there may be another reason: language. When you were a baby, you experienced the world before you had words. Before you could describe a birthday, before you could explain a feeling, before you could tell yourself a story. Modern memory relies heavily on narrative. We remember events partly because we describe them. We replay them. We organize them into stories about ourselves. Babies can't do that. They experience life directly, without narration, without labels, without explanation. Imagine trying to remember a movie you watched before you understood language. The images might exist somewhere, the emotions might remain, but the story becomes impossible to reconstruct, which leads to one of the strangest possibilities of all. What if your earliest memories never truly disappeared? What if they're still influencing you right now? You may not remember being comforted as a baby, but your brain remembers the feeling of safety. You may not remember your parents holding you, but your brain remembers trust. You may not remember your earliest fears, but your brain remembers how to respond to danger. Even when specific memories vanish, their effects can remain. The first years of life help shape emotional development, learning, attachment, behavior, and personality. In other words, the first years of your life may be forgotten, but they never stopped shaping you. And that creates a strange paradox. The period of life you remember the least may be the period that influenced you the most. Your personality, your fears, your habits, your relationships, your sense of safety. The foundations of all of them were being built during years you can barely recall. And perhaps that's what makes infantile amnesia so unsettling. It's not just that you've forgotten your earliest memories. It's that an entire version of yourself has been lost. A version that saw everything for the first time. The first sunrise, the first face, the first laugh, the first fear, the first realization that the world existed. That person was you. And yet you can never meet them again. You lived thousands of moments. You experienced an entire world, and almost all of it disappeared into silence. Or maybe it's still there, hidden somewhere deep inside your mind, waiting in a place you no longer know how to reach.